Good evening, Panda.
Good evening, Namor.
Yay.
Are we using our pleasant radio voices now?
I'm always using my pleasant radio voice.
Hmm. I can keep this. I can keep this voice on for the rest of the evening if you'd like.
Nah.
You know, my calm, soothing doctor voice.
That's
Don't worry.
not what people are tuning in
Don't
for.
worry.
Nope.
Everything will be perfectly fine.
Mm-mm.
No one's tuning in for that.
They want the bloodthirsty.
Rah!
Well,
It's like Gordon Ramsay. It's fucking raw. Okay. All right.
so yeah, I'm thinking for today we'll try to cover 2 chapters, but most of the time will be spent on 15.6. Because, because
Because.
Perian and Flechette!
Yay! Yay for gay!
Yay for gay!
Woo!
Okay, well, let's dive into this. I'll see what I can skip, but I think there's not a lot to skip in 15.6 because it's just one long conversation.
What? That's it? This whole chapter is just two people talking at each other? Who would pay attention to that? Two people just talking to each other. I know what I'm saying. I'm being sarcastic.
Uh-huh.
No, I am. You can't see it on my face, can you?
Well, I can. I don't think the viewers can.
I was trying to make my voice more sarcastic.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, you're more into the talky, like, character interaction bit. So I figured we'll focus.
It depends on the character.
It depends on the character reaction. All right. Let me know if this gets boring, and I'll try to summarize. Okay.
Just give me the gayest shit.
But for now, I'm just gonna read this.
Seriously, on a scale of 1 to like rainbow flag, how gay is it?
This chapter.
Mm-hmm.
A
4?
4 or 5, because it is mostly Taylor like talking to them, right?
Oh, and she's okay.
But there's a bit of gay, so you can look forward to that.
But I came for the gay.
I know.
And you expect me to stay for the awkward Tay-Tay?
I mean, you like the awkward Tay-Tay stuff too.
I like making fun of her for it.
Okay.
I understand. I am the pot calling the kettle here. I completely understand. But, well, it's not like Tay-Tay is gonna, like, be able to attack me for it like the road rage woman this morning. Holy shit. Anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. So, last chapter,
Last chapter.
Taylor just got stabbed by Flechette.
I mean, you must have done something wrong because Flechette is, like, you know, she's a cinnamon roll. She kind of is, right? I don't know. She gave me that. She gives off cinnamon roll vibes.
I don't think so. I mean, she kind of gives off this "I want a friend" vibe, but also she knows how to handle herself in a fight. All right. Let's just read. Not my brightest move, I had to admit. The problem with acting like I was tough enough to shrug off an attack from a knife wielder was that the illusion failed pretty damn hard when I actually got stabbed. I've been relying too much on my costume. If I see a single bug, I'll be forced to use this, Flechette said, angling the spike of metal in her hand so I could see it better. Isn't that going too far? Perian asked. Her voice small.
No, okay, she's a cinnamon roll.
Yeah, Perian is the cinnamon roll.
There we go. What's that ship dynamic? There's that ship dynamic where one of them is a sweet cinnamon roll and the other one is just like this feral maniac willing to protect the cinnamon roll at all costs. Is that it? Is that it?
Yeah.
The Flechette is feral. That's the word, isn't it? Feral.
No, Flechette said. Her hand was still poised to strike the second I moved. She was just talking. She just talked to Panacea, if you remember. And I told you before, the last time Glory Girl was seen in her company.
Hey, look, it's you and me. We do this. No, we do this. Come on, it's true, right? I've gone like totally feral with you. I'm just like, well, the last time you talked to her, so and so, the blah blah blah, how this happened, and then you'd be like, we were just talking, Panda. You need to chill out. It's okay. And I'm like, then why does nobody else like this person? And just that's us. We're like this.
I've explained what happened after that. You think she did it? Did what?
Did what?
I think the Thinker 7 on her team might have. Running theory is that Tattletale has a clairvoyance that lets her see weak points. finds the points to attack in people, security systems, patrol routes, reverse engineers the results to get general information. Okay. Okay. She'd hit the key points, but sort of got it backwards. That was Jack, I said. Jack was the one who got to Amy. Occam's razor. Most likely...
Occam's razor?
Mm-hmm. Most likely answer is often the correct one. Or something like that.
Occam's razor? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You know what they told us in dental school?
What?
It's the same thing. Most likely answer is one. It's the horse thing.
Right.
Horse versus, they'd always look at us and say, horse versus zebra. Horse or zebra, which is it? If it has hooves and it has 4 hooves, it gallops and it eats grass. And it's got a decently long neck. Is it a horse or is it more likely to be a horse or a zebra? Which one's more common?
Right.
So that's the one we got. They would just look at us and say horse or zebra.
That's a good analogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good one. Also, I passed, what was it? Oral medicine with like flying colors.
Mm-hmm.
I got 100% on that exam. And everybody said I was a bitch.
Is it going to be Jack, who has powers we already know? Or is it going to be Tattletale, who has set down more than enough precedent for that kind of behavior and is still unknown power? It fits what your group's trying to do, taking over the city for yourselves. And
they are kind of doing that, to be fair.
And I should point out that records do seem to point to people being left devastated or ruined wherever you go. Panacea, Armsmaster, the Slaughterhouse 9.
Okay, listen, those are really terrible examples. I'm not saying that they're cherry picking, but I'm just kind of like, it's just kind of funny how like the worst possible example always finds a way to make it to Tay-Tay.
Right.
Because these are the worst possible examples.
You're complaining about us taking out the 9? And that wasn't all us. It wasn't even mostly us. That was everything going to hell and people with issues getting pushed past their limits. We were only involved because we've tried to help every step of the way.
That's a good point. Yeah, they were just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like saying, like, every time I got into a car accident, there was a car involved. No, I'm serious.
It's just like,
Taylor's
yeah.
right. That is actually the argument they're making. They're like, oh, yeah, well, you guys were there everywhere. They're there all the time.
They're just always there.
They're always there because they, like, why are you guys, what were you guys, I can just imagine Blanchett being like, holding a knife there, be like, what were you guys doing in the city anyway? And Taylor being like, I live here.
Oh, you know what it is? It's like, oh, every time we get in a car accident, the police show up. It's the police's fault.
Yeah, that's it. Like, it's just like, wait, but you're the one getting in all those car accidents also.
Right.
Anyway, no, but seriously, them being like, what are you doing here? I live here. Like, I just imagine Taylor being like, I live here. What were you doing living here? I live here.
Mm-hmm.
This is that. I'm sorry. Can I say something else? This is just. I'm so gleeful about this. This is like the next door thing, right? The neighbor app, where it's like Taylor. Like every time I walk past your house, there's a dead rodent on your doorstep, and Taylor's like, you keep walking past my house. Can you just like stop doing that? I have cats. Like it's like that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. You think she was going to do to me what she did to Glory Girl and Panacea?
She didn't do anything to Glory Girl. She didn't, right?
No.
As far as I remember, Taylor didn't do jack shit to her.
Yeah, basically.
That was all Amy losing her shit. Seriously, Armsmaster has like narcissism, completely untreated and unchecked.
Uh-huh.
Not as bad as Jack Slash, but getting there.
Uh-huh.
And Amy has CPTSD. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm just diagnosing based off of it. I'm not allowed to diagnose. I'm just diagnosing based off of like I'm a healthcare worker with CPTSD, so it takes one to know one. Amy has CPTSD. Like, come on, prove me wrong. What do you think?
No, she does for sure. I'm pretty sure she does. Also, probably some other problems.
Anxiety, depression, burnout, severe burnout. On a scale of 1 to 10, how burnt out is she? 20.
Like, honestly, since we're all spoiler free at this point,
we are.
I would say she has a level of sociopathy, like inability to see things from other people's perspective. Right. Like I think she's very in her own head, and that's.
I don't want to say sociopathy here because I had this kind of problem when I was a new grad. I went through hell and a lot of training to learn how to help people. Why don't people want help? It took me a very long time to understand why people would not want, why somebody would refuse help.
Mm-hmm.
like, I understand it now, but I'm gonna chalk that up to her being young and very inexperienced. Because I've matured. You can attest to this. I've matured a lot since I left school 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I've changed as a person, like, fundamentally. I think if I were to run into any of my classmates from dental school, they probably wouldn't recognize me because I seem that different now. So I'm gonna chalk this one up to her being a child. Again, do you expect teenagers to be able to be capable of that level of thinking?
Okay, fair enough.
Isn't she 15?
She's Taylor's age,
16?
so 16 or 17.
Yeah. How empathetic / sociopathic would you expect the average 16 to 17-year-old on Twitter to be? Remember, these are the kids who have started smear and harassment campaigns against adult creators.
That is very true. You don't need superpowers to
be an asshole?
An asshole.
No, you don't. Again, for anybody listening, if you're interested in learning more about how terrifying it can be when the young people are recruited by governments, Hitler Youth for the Westerners, and for anyone interested in Chinese history, the Red Guard. People fucking died because a bunch of teenagers got caught up in propaganda. A lot of people fucking died. Like, kids who turn in their parents. And so you can say sociopathy, but I'm going to say a lack of foresight, which is why, like, dictators like Mao and Hitler were willing to use young people, and why governments are so eager to recruit young people for the sake of their armies. And I'm going to extend this argument to say this is why the Shards went after teenagers, remember? Why are they going after prepubescent or just pubescent people? Because if a Shard hit me when I was 13, none of you would be alive right now.
Yeah,
if a Shard hit me now, I'd be like, another mosquito. I hate these fuckers. Nothing would happen. Okay, maybe a little bit would happen. I keep telling myself, humans are horrible. I have no faith left in our species. And you know what I would do if I had the power to? I would pull a fucking Lelouch. I'm just like, look at all these dumbasses. Look at all these people. The only way to save the planet is to convince everybody, like, to create like a Trump-style populist campaign, convince everyone that, mwahaha, you're some kind of bad guy, badass, whatever. And then once you have all the power and autocracy, turn all of the tables around and actually use it to save the planet. I would go fucking Lelouch. That's my plan for, like, world domination, because I'm like, these chuckleheads don't know how to take care of themselves. I would do that. But
that's probably what Taylor wants to do too. I'm taking over the city for the good of everybody.
Yeah. She also doesn't know how to. Well, she learned how to designate, so I'll give her that.
That's true. Delegate, you mean?
And yes, but and I see your argument, but she did save the world. She saved everyone. She did it.
I guess that's true.
I'm not saying that this is admirable.
Hard to argue with that.
I'm saying, okay, fine. We can call it pulling a Tay-Tay instead of pulling a Lelouch. Fine. I don't know. I just feel like, given the current state of fuckery that is our world, I feel like that's the only way out of it right now. Go on.
Right. So Perian asked, "You think she's going to do that to me?" I'd say the possibility exists.
That thing being,
like the thing that happened to Glory Girl and Panacea, people getting messed up.
Oh, are we referring to the flesh sarcophagus?
Yes.
Guys, Tay-Tay doesn't know how to make a flesh sarcophagus. The best she's got is spider silk. And
I mean, they're specifically talking about mind screws and about targeting people's weak points and manipulating them to doing crazy things.
Didn't we just talk about last episode how Tay-Tay's strangely convincing?
Right?
You know, there's that scene in Hunchback of Notre Dame where Frollo is like, choose me or the fire. And Esmeralda was bound to the stake. In this situation, Taylor's like, choose me or the fire. And she points behind her and the entire city of Brockton Bay is burning down. It's a very different scenario.
I'd say the possibility exists, Flechette said. And that's reason enough to be very careful.
This is hilarious. This is actually really funny.
Damn this. I'm not trying to fucking corrupt or psychologically traumatize Perian or anyone else. Yes, we're trying to take over the city. Yes, we're currently working on eliminating...
Has anyone made an animatic of this? This is hilarious. Can I read this?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
All right.
Like, damn this. I'm not trying to fucking corrupt or psychologically traumatize Perian or anyone else. Yes, we're trying to take over the city. Yes, we're currently working on eliminating the competition.
Flechette murmured, her expression hard.
Yes, this is the yeah, exactly. This is yes, Flechette. I like how you're trying to say that this person can mess you up psychologically, where she just kind of admitted, yeah, we're trying to take over the city and work on eliminating the competition. Oh, that's
Do you want to keep reading, or should
I'm seeing this in animatic form.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious.
But that's not why I'm here. Not exactly.
Yeah.
It serves our goals just as well if I recruit Parian. It's one person out of the way, and it gives us a way to help people who need it. So you say. Fuck. I hate it when people do that. Everything you say is a lie, including any protests or arguments over the fact that you're a liar.
I feel like this is very familiar. You know what? This is a Twitter argument. This is a couple of teenagers quote retweeting each other on Twitter and trying to get each other canceled. Where did the death threats come? Where did the death threats come in?
I mean, it kind of already happened.
There you go. It's a couple of teenagers arguing on Twitter.
Yeah, Flechette
Get off
already
social media, kids, and go outside and touch some fucking grass.
She already said, if I see a single bug, I'm stabbing you, so...
There we go. So we started backwards. Flechette seems to have a habit of doing this.
There was a crash, further away than the last. Ballistic had headed in a different direction. For the moment, at least, we were out of harm's way. You're sort of well known in the community for being deceptive and underhanded.
I mean, she's part of the Undersiders. It's in the name.
It's in the name.
Read the label. Read the box. It's exactly what's on the label.
Because of what Armsmaster said at the hospital? In part. Is nobody paying attention to the fact that he was seriously bent in the head? To the point that the Slaughterhouse 9 thought he was a good candidate for the group?
Oh, that's a good argument. They thought he was a good candidate, and they didn't want you. In fact, they tried to kill Taylor. That's a good argument.
Mannequin targeted Armsmaster to mess with him. It's his MO. He goes out of his way to attack...
Wait, Mannequin targeted Armsmaster to mess with him?
Yeah.
Who's saying this? Flechette?
Flechette is saying this.
Flechette, what is your IQ? It's low, isn't it?
He goes out of his way to attack and ruin Tinkers and other individuals who could do something for society.
And Mannequin can't talk.
But Mannequin did choose Armsmaster because, quote-unquote, they're similar. I don't know if you remember the chapter where Mannequin recruited Armsmaster.
Just a little.
But yeah.
I think I spent most of it dissing Armsmaster.
Yeah, that's probably why you don't remember much of it.
Every time I hear Nutmaster, my brain just goes into get dunked on mode.
Yeah. But what Flechette says here actually is true. Mm-hmm. Mannequin has a grudge against Tinkers. Specifically Tinkers who try to improve the world.
Because he failed.
He used to be one of those, and he failed. Yeah.
That's very human.
It is. And then Taylor says, I love how the so-called good guys get to revise events to make stuff more convenient for them.
That's how they become the good guys. They revise events to make things more convenient for them. This is how history works. Mm-hmm. Literally how history works.
It's a perk. People tend to trust your version of events when you're doing what's right, Flechette said.
Ooh, Flechette, you are very far up that Nutmaster butt, aren't you?
The spike she gripped between two fingers tapped against my throat, but didn't pierce the fabric. She wasn't using her power, or she could have killed me. You're implying that you guys are doing what's right that much more often than we are. That should be obvious, and you really believe that? Have to. Do you know why Armsmaster was arrested? He wasn't. Unofficially arrested, then. Do you know why he was cooped up in the local PRT headquarters, with no official title or role? He was in therapy for his injury. He lost an arm. I know. I was there when Leviathan tore it out of the socket. I applied pressure to the wound to try to stop the blood loss. But that's not why they locked him up. They could have given him an administrative position if it was just an injury, and they didn't. Maybe they did. It's not like either of us were there when the decisions were made. With no job title? Didn't list one for him. And with the state of the city, they could have leveraged his reputation alone to boost morale, just by saying Armsmaster was in charge of the local task forces. There's emotional stress with permanent injuries, too. Plenty of people under just as much stress, not more, after the Endbringer hit. But I'll admit your perspective's better than mine, I said, looking up at her. You joined the wards just in time to see the aftermath of Gallant and Aegis dying. How did they handle that? If the PRT was that accommodating with Armsmaster, I'm sure they arranged for therapy and time off for all the wards.
Woo! It's getting spicy in here!
Yes to therapy, she said. No to the time off. Too much to take care of. Oh? I asked. I hadn't honestly expected them to enforce and allow for therapy. It threw me off my stride. Why are you so surprised? And where's this coming from? Tattletale feed you this information? Only some of the general details, like what Armsmaster was up to. The bit about the PRT dropping the ball and taking care of you guys was mainly drawn from past experience. But they didn't. Flechette, Perian spoke up. Weren't you saying it was Weld who pushed for the therapy?
It was. That sounds about right.
Flechette shot her a look.
You know, Weld, for somebody named Weld and has metal powers, he's quite the soft boy.
He really is.
Oh, woo!
Flechette shot her a look, as if she were thinking, whose side are you on?
Oh, couple arguments. Oh,
Right?
This is so cute. Teenagers. Have I mentioned? Yes, I have. I'm sure I have. I said this once. I'll say it again. I do not miss being a fucking teenager.
Mm-hmm.
What? Do you miss it?
A little bit.
I miss the regenerative powers part of it. I miss being able to, like, you know how I used to get over my colds? I would go to the dining hall and I would make myself a cold, what was it, a froyo. I would eat lots of froyo and Diet Coke, and that's how I would cure my colds.
Mm-hmm.
It worked. Like, if I felt a sore throat coming on, I would do that, and the next day I'd be fine. I completely forgot about that until now. I miss having my regenerative powers.
That was good stuff, yeah.
Froyo was fucking good. Those theme dinner nights were great.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Singapore and eat. I want to eat.
Wards taking care of wards, I said. Okay, I think my argument stands. No reason to suggest that Armsmaster was being coddled to that degree for any emotional or mental distress he went through.
I would love to see that, actually.
What are you getting at? I'm saying he was arrested off the books.
For being a dick!
And there aren't really any reasonable explanations to the contrary. People are still taking his word on events, taking his word on me, but he was as fucked up as any of us. Given the choice, I'm going to take his word over yours. Sorry. That's what I'm saying is screwed up. I hissed the last two words. Why? Because of the label he chose to identify by? He calls himself a hero and he gets more credit? Because he put in a good 15 years of hard work to improve the city, and because I think your perspectives worked. Everyone has a screwed up perspective. Especially
That's not
here.
a good argument, hey.
Especially now, with the way the city is. My perspective's fucked up because everyone I was supposed to rely on dropped the ball, and the only people I could count on were crooks.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right?
She's right, though.
You can see why I don't want to skip this chapter, right? This is good, like, all the way through.
I need this in rap battle form.
Right?
Where are my fellow weebs? Kaguya-sama, woo!
Panacea got warped because her parents let her down, because nobody ever sat down and talked to her about who her dad was. So she convinced herself that she was doomed to follow in his footsteps.
Oh, that's actually a very fair, yeah, that's a fair cop. I have to give her that.
How do you know that? I was there. We tried to help. But she's never had someone talk to her, so she didn't know how to listen to us. Which is probably a blessing in disguise, because she didn't listen to Jack or Bonesaw either.
This is hilarious.
Flechette gave me a funny look. Her eyes were vague shadows behind her visor. But I could see one distorted size as she raised an eyebrow. What? I asked. Something about Panacea and Glory Girl? She'd said something earlier, too.
Who?
Flechette.
Flechette said something about Panacea and Glory.
Yeah, she referenced Panacea and Glory Girl. You have to know that at this point in time, Taylor doesn't know what happened to Glory Girl.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Taylor's last thing was Panacea being like, "Let's go, sister," and like
flying off.
And like, yeah.
Yeah.
The flesh sarcophagus.
Yep.
And then they flew off into the sunset, never to be seen again. Just a girl in her flesh sarcophagus.
Ah, yes. The heartwarming anime, Girl in Her Flesh Sarcophagus. She spoke.
Animated by Studio Bones, get it? Yeah.
She spoke, interrupting my thoughts before I could frame them into a question. Nothing. I guess you're going to tell me you tried to help Arms Master too?
Yep.
No.
No. No.
No. I turned to him for help, and he tried to screw me over.
Did he try to kill her?
I joined the Undersiders to give him the details he wanted on their powers and methods, and he not only hung me out to dry, but he tried to kill me.
Yeah, he did, huh? I was like, didn't he try to kill her?
He-
Am I remembering that right?
He did kill Kaiser and Fenya, nearly killed Kidwin by accident, and there were others there too. All for his own personal glory, because he had some kind of crazy tunnel vision when it came to his personal ambition and successes.
Yeah.
Flechette frowned. I took the chance to hammer my point home. He knew I was just an undercover agent, but he thought my death and the casual sacrifices of the others who had chosen to risk their lives to stop Leviathan were worth getting a personal shot at killing Leviathan one-on-one. What? Perian asked. Seriously? Doesn't that violate the deal with... Yes. Flechette cut her off.
The deal with what?
Yes, it would. The deal, the Endbringer deal. Do you remember that? The truce where if villains show up to help with an Endbringer fight,
You let them.
You let them and you don't do anything for personal gain.
Right.
Yeah. I shrugged, looking at Flechette, Perian, and the Dolltown residents. Probably going to get in trouble for revealing that, but I'll leave it to you to decide what to do with that information. I'm already a priority target anyways, pretty much. What with our intended takeover of the city? You seem to be missing the point that you're under arrest right now, Flechette spoke.
Sweetheart, this is adorable, but it needs to stop.
I sighed, and nothing I say is getting through. It's exactly what I was talking about before. You're just using information Tattletale fed you to try to screw with my head. Fill me with doubts and paranoia. And
Is it working? Sorry, that would be like, I'm such a douche. I would be like, so is it working?
Lol. And how would I know you'd be here? I'd have to get the information from her in advance, remember? Tattletale told you I'd be here. Okay.
Man, everybody hates Lisa.
Okay, that's admittedly possible. So, your interpretation of events is that I knew you were here, I came prepared with all this made-up information on Armsmaster to mess with you, and I just let you stab me?
Convincing. That's fair.
As if mentioning it reminded my brain, I could feel the pain radiating from my shoulder. At least she'd left the spike in there. It seemed even better at preventing the bleeding than I guessed it would be. A snug fit? I wouldn't bleed to death in the next 10 minutes. She didn't venture a response. Flechette, if you don't believe me, you can look at the armband Dragon gave us for the fight against Leviathan. Armsmaster fight it with an EMP to keep me from broadcasting Leviathan's location to anyone. And then, he moved in only after he thought Leviathan had killed me. It's on top of the ceiling panel in the shelter on Slater Street, women's bathroom above the middle toilet. I couldn't keep it in case Dragon used it to track me down, but you can go grab it if she hasn't sent someone already. Get a tinker you trust to look at it. The results could be fabricated. Tell your tinker that.
Your mom could be fabricated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's the kind of person I am.
Tell your tinker that. He'll keep it in mind, and he can tell you the likelihood of it being something I'm doing to frame Armsmaster versus it being Armsmaster's work. Why are you telling me this? Because
I'm trying to get you to trust me, bitch. Have you not been paying attention?
I'm trying to convince you that right isn't the exclusive property of the good guys, just like wrong isn't wholly on our side of the fence. Armsmaster's sense of good was purely what was good for his own interests. I'm trying to do the right thing more often than not, believe it or not, or I'm doing the wrong things for the right reasons. And which were you doing here, trying to recruit Perian?
I'm here to steal your girlfriend. What do you think?
I glanced at Perian. I don't know yet. Thinking it's more the latter. There was a rumble as Ballistic knocked over a building somewhere a distance away. We don't need your help, Flechette said. Don't you? I don't know why you're wearing that getup, but I'm assuming those other people are because of what Bonesaw did. I could see the people in the concealing costumes shifting uncomfortably. Why I'm in this costume isn't any of your business. I'm here to help. I can help more.
Oh, shit.
I can get them medical attention. Start reversing what the Slaughterhouse 9 did to them. Parian spoke, her voice quiet. So you're asking me to choose between being loyal to a friend who's helped me, comforted me, and kept me sane these past few weeks, or selling my soul for the supposed greater good.
Poor unfortunate souls. I will never pass up an opportunity to say that. Again, I'm so sad that they passed up Lizzo for this, but I just hear it in Lizzo's voice. Go ahead, make your choice.
Uh-huh. Saying you'd be selling your soul is a bit overdramatic, I said.
Again, leans in real close to the mic. They're teenagers. They're teenagers.
Parian's actually a college student.
Which is why she's calmer. Wait, is Flechette a teenager?
Flechette's a teenager.
Oh, little puppy crush. I'm sorry. I'm such a dick. I'm sorry. It's funny. I think it's funny. I think this is hilarious.
I'm an artist. I'm dramatic by nature.
I have to give her that. I'm an ISFP. I have to give her that. Oh, who's an artist?
Parian.
She's an artist and I guess not a teen. She's a college. Is she 19?
I think she's 19 or 20, something like that.
19. If she's 19, then she's a teenager.
I guess so, yeah.
So dramatic.
Then let me make an emotional appeal. Come to my territory. Let me show you what I'm doing there.
We have cookies!
And what I want to help you do for your people. You'll just take the advantage of the situation to escape, Flechette said. I don't really think you can keep me, I said, sounding calmer than I felt.
You know, that's a very fair point.
We'll see, she responded. I sent a command to Atlas. Easiest option is that I send a message to Ballistic. I really don't want to do that, because it's going to get people hurt or killed. His files say he doesn't kill, she responded.
Ballistic?
Yeah, Ballistic. With his power, it's easy to accidentally go too far.
What is his power again?
He makes things go at, like, from standing still to, like, terminal velocity. Just by touching it. Yeah.
Still to terminal velocity.
So basically, he can turn anything into a bullet.
So it's also like, it's like the reverse of the Expanse thing they're talking about, where, like, you know...
Instant stop.
Instant stop, and then you go sploosh.
Yeah, exactly. It goes from instant stop to instant move.
Excellent. That is so cool.
Yeah. Right now, he's, like, showering objects onto Parian's hideout.
Sir, can you get me to work?
Right.
Can you give me a lift to work? Give me a ride. Give me a ride. It's okay if I go splat. I'll just tell everybody that, you know, well, like, can't show up. Give me a ride.
Combine that with the sheer danger your own power presents. It's like playing tag with guns. Not saying I don't respect your power, with the damage you did to Leviathan, but he can escalate harder and faster than you. If you two get in a shootout...
Sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry. You didn't see that coming?
If you two get in a shootout, someone's going to get hurt. As if to punctuate my statement, there was a sound of a building collapsing nearby. Well then, Flechette said. She adjusted her grip on the spike of metal that she held between her fingers. A dart. She poked it through the armor of my wrist. When I tried to move my arm, it was fixed to the ground. I guess I'll come back for you later, after Ballistics left. Undo it. Release me, I said, pulling harder. No, and stop struggling. Unless you can tear that costume, you're not going to pull free. It's bonded. You're making a mistake, I growled. I'm only trying to help. And I'm doing my job. I get that maybe your intentions are good, but I'm obligated to take you in, especially now that I've heard your confession of intent to seize the city. How many wrongs have been done by people who were just following orders? I asked.
Oh.
I directed Atlas in through an open window. Every set of eyes was on Flechette and I, which made it easy for him to slip into the room. My bugs had identified tripwires Perian had set, and navigating Atlas around them wasn't too hard. Stop it! Perian cried. For a second, I thought it had to do with Atlas, but her shout followed within a second of my question to Flechette. Flechette looked like she'd been slapped. I stopped Atlas where he was, poised a few feet behind Perian. I folded his scythe-like claws down and out of the way. Skitter, if we let you go, do you promise not to attack or interfere under any circumstance?
Interfere with what?
With her, I guess, and the people she's protecting. Perian? Flechette asked. She sounded almost hurt. It depends. Are you going to go confront Ballistic? Honestly, yes. You said he'd keep coming until you took us out. I frowned, but they couldn't see that behind my mask. Ballistic was angry. He was dangerous, and there was little to nothing tying him to Coil's service, outside of some vague sense of duty. Are you going to arrest him? I asked. No, Perian responded. At the same time, Flechette said yes. We could scare him off, Perian said. Beat him up a little. And he'd bring in the other travelers and Undersiders to wipe us out, Flechette said. Perian looked at me. He wouldn't, would he? I nodded. He would. Perian sagged, dropping into a sitting position. Flechette turned to look at her and froze. What the hell is that? She'd seen Atlas. I brought him in here as insurance, I said. I was thinking about taking Perian hostage if you went ahead with my arrest.
Dude, you're not making a very good point for yourself.
But she started being reasonable, and I told him to back down. What is he?
Your worst nightmare.
Panacea made him for me, for fighting the 9. Just a big beetle with sharp claws.
She says, as if it's like a poodle, as if introducing a new pet.
Just a poodle, yeah.
Don't worry.
Just my little pet.
Just a poodle. No big deal.
That's what you were using to fly around when we were fighting the 9? I nodded. Creepy.
I feel really bad for Taylor. Everybody's just kind of like, ew, look at this creepy bug girl. Ew, it's bugs. It's so creepy. I mean, I don't like bugs either.
I mean, it is kind of creepy. Look, I said, seeing a chance to regain control of the conversation. I'll extend my offer a 3rd time. Join us, Perian. We're not as scary or as bad as we look at first glance. You'll see that if you check out my territory. I'm not threatening you or extorting this out of you. You can say no, because I have a weapon at your throat, Flechette said.
Oh, sweetheart. Oh, sweetheart.
Because it's her call, I said, my voice firm. Because I really do think she'll be safer overall. From those people who aren't as scary or bad at first glance, Flechette said. From all the other capes and unpowered individuals who would prey on her and her people. I can't, Perian said. No, I have to turn down your offer. I sighed. Damn. Damn.
Do you know any other curse words? Because there's better ones out there. I'm just saying. Better ones.
Can I ask why? Flechette's done too much to help me, to help us, for me to turn around and become her enemy. Even if it's for the greater good.
Everybody wants to be my enemy.
And maybe they won't forgive me for it, but I can't agree to short-term gains. To giving them some medical care and reconstructive surgery now, in exchange for becoming a criminal for the rest of my life. What if this was temporary? I can't reveal too much. Can't let them know Coil's reign ends soon if everything goes according to plan. I'd still carry the label, wouldn't I?
Label?
The villain label. Maybe I don't agree with everything Flechette said, but I do agree that just calling myself a villain, even for a short time, it wouldn't be something I could shake so easily. We'll find another way. I can use my power to make money. I'll heal them. I'll make up for failing to protect them.
Who's saying this?
Perian.
Oh, sweetheart.
A woman with a cloth hood covering everything but one eye reached out and put a hand on Perion's shoulder. Squeezed. She felt the same kind of responsibility for her people that I did for mine. The realization made me all the more disappointed that she'd said no. Okay, I said. Flechette, I'm going to reach behind my back. I'm not drawing a weapon. No, she said. Whatever deal Perion is making, they don't change the fact that you're under arrest. I have to do my job, and with the 9 gone, your faction is a priority, especially with your suspected involvement in the incident with Glory Girl and Panacea.
Man, you're really bad at this.
I frowned. I needed another option. My armor was loaded down with bugs, and that included the compartment. I could feel what I needed. It was just a question of getting it free. Spiders drew silk around the object in question, then made their way across my shoulder and up the back of my arm, braiding the thread together as they went and hooked them against the edges of my armor to get traction in the right areas. They reached my hand and encircled one finger. I twitched that finger and tugged the thread. Another harder pull, and it came free. My bugs muffled the sound of the object hitting the ground.
What is she doing?
What was that? Flechette asked. As a mass, they carried the object into plain view. My cell phone. You make the call, so you know I'm not trying something, I said. Flechette frowned. There's no reason. There's a great reason, but I don't think you'll believe me if we don't do things my way. Password to unlock the phone is 7281. She picked up the phone and threw it over her shoulder at Perion. Perion caught it. Me? I'm keeping my attention on Skitter. Don't forget to watch that beetle of hers while you're making the call. Perion nodded, too quickly. What was that number? 7281. Okay. Go to the contact list. It's all gibberish. Symbols and numbers and stuff. It's a code. First number that starts with **:*. Okay. It's ringing. Should I put it on speakerphone? No, Flechette said. Tell her you're speaking on behalf of Skitter, I said. Perion nodded. Hi? I'm speaking for Skitter? Tell her, she just said, Emerald S. Tell her Celery A. Celery A, okay. Upstairs, beneath the workbench, to the bottom left of the painting, there's a panel. Tell her to remove it. Perion relayed the instructions. There was a pause of no less than 2 minutes before she said, The girl on the other end says there's a safe. 611. I paused to let Perion relay the numbers. 203 100 663. It's open. She says there's stacks of money? So what's happening is Taylor just had Perion call Sierra, who is back at her base, right?
Right.
And now Taylor is telling Sierra to open her safe, which contains a bunch of money. Tell her to gather $200,000 from the safe, pick 5 people who need a break from work, C included. Only C should know about it. I don't want the others to get greedy. They can pack it into a truck, head north, and meet you just before the ramp where Lord Street turns onto the 95. I don't understand. Leave the city, Perion. There's nothing good left here anymore. That money's yours. Use it to heal and help the friends and family you still have left. Get out of here. Use the money to get yourself settled, get some therapy for everything you've been through, and go pursue that career in fashion you said you wanted. Why? There's been too much ugliness here. There's bound to be more. I guess I have the money and you need it. And I guess I feel complicit in what happened. The 9 did what they did to Dolltown because we'd forced them into a corner. Maybe they would have attacked anyways. They were headed your way. I don't know. But let me do this. Let me... I don't know. Saying clear my conscience sounds naive. And to get this money, I have to leave this city? Perion asked. She looked stunned. Consider it a strong encouragement.
You sound like Coyle.
In the end, it's your choice. I'd appreciate it if you kept quiet about my role in your leaving and about me giving you the money. I think the Undersiders would understand, for the most part, but the Travelers might take issue with my interference. She didn't have a reply. I glanced at Flechette, but I didn't see anything in her expression. My employee is still on the phone, I reminded her. Oh, what was I supposed to say again? I repeated the message. While Perian related, Flechette commented, That's a lot of money to be giving away. I have more. I did. The amount I was giving Perian amounted to a little less than a third of my current holdings. The bank account Coyle had assigned to me seemed to be growing in alternating stutters and huge bounds. The benefit of having a bank account that was managed by a guy who called himself the Number Man, I suppose.
Why is that so funny?
Because it's funny. A little bit of Number Man factoids. He's actually someone who works for Cauldron. Yeah, he works for Cauldron, and he calls himself the Number Man because he wanted to pick a very unassuming name.
The Number Man.
Yeah. Lucrative job you have there. I didn't reply. It was just enough money that it'd be just a little tight to manage in the immediate future, but I felt like it wouldn't be meaningful if it didn't inconvenience me somehow. Okay, Perian said. She said they'll be waiting. My territory is closer to the destination than you are. You should leave sooner than later. She nodded. This isn't some trick? Flechette asked. Some trap you prearranged with those code words?
It absolutely is. In fact, there are bear traps underneath your feet that are unfurling as we speak.
Yep, exactly. You got it in one, Panda.
I'm just being sarcastic.
I know. Tower's here. Tower says, I'm kinda late, but I still made it to the good part. Number Man is way too OP. The code was just to inform her everything was fine. No trap. But I think you'll want to accompany her and the others, just to make sure they arrive safely. They're still dangerous people on these streets. Would she tell me Perian could handle herself? Flechette turned to look at Perian, apparently considering the same thing. You played dirty, Skitter. All things considered, I think I've been exceedingly fair. I can't guard her and keep an eye on you at the same time. That was the idea. I could nail...
Why is that hilarious?
I could nail you down to the ground. Wouldn't even be hard. You'd have to tear your costume to shreds and run back to your territory.
This sounds like foreplay. This entire line.
Tear your costume to shreds.
Come on, you hear it, right?
Yes.
You hear it, right? Just change the tone. I could nail you down to the ground. She's offering to nail you, Tay-Tay. Wink, wink. Wouldn't even be hard. Well, someone will be. You'd have to at least tear your costume to shreds.
You know she's gay, right?
I know, and that's what makes this even funnier.
Okay. Run back to your territory and whatever you're wearing underneath that.
It's just so gay. Sweetheart, can you hear yourself? This is hilarious.
You could. I didn't point out that if she did do that, I wouldn't have a chance of tearing my costume. I still think you have a warped perspective on things. I don't think you're right. I told you where the armband is. Slater Street, women's toilets, on top of the ceiling, panel above the second of the 3 toilets. If Dragon hasn't tracked and removed it. Right. Good luck, I told her, whatever happens. We're on opposing sides, you know. The next time we meet, we'll be fighting. Doesn't mean I wish you badly. Right. She didn't free my armor from the floor, but she stood and joined Perian, who was already walking away. I heard her murmuring, To New York City, I'll be finished here in 2 weeks. And then, they were out of earshot. There was the sound of Ballistic continuing his rampage, tearing Dolltown to the ground. Maybe it was good if this place was leveled to the ground. I wasn't superstitious. I wasn't religious. But with what the 9 had done here, even their relatively short visit to this area, it felt darker. Wrong. There was too much death and sadness that had occurred here.
Oh, the misery.
Was that true of the city as well? Was it better just to raze it to the ground and start anew?
I mean, that was the whole plan, right?
I mean, that's what the
mayor.
That's what the mayor is considering, yeah. I reached over slowly, wincing at the coarse sensation of metal dragging against bone, in the red-hot pain of my own tearing flesh. The movement in my shoulder had shifted the metal spike flechette had embedded there, pulling sideways against the hole it had punched in my shoulder. I could see the blood welling out, running down into the fabric of my costume.
Ow.
Once I had my hand in position, I began unstrapping the armor panel from my wrist. Free to stand, I used my knife and some kicks to get the armor free of the floor. Rather than pull the spike free of the flooring as I might have with a nail, I wound up pulling out a roughly cone-shaped chunk of wood, the spike and everything it had contacted seeming to have bonded together. I picked up the armor and tucked it under one arm. This could have gone worse. I might have to face some ramifications if the PRT took offense.
She's got a good point. I mean, she's alive, so
that is true. Yeah, she got stabbed, but she's alive and still able to function. Might have to face some ramifications if the PRT took offense to my bringing up what had happened with Armsmaster. But somehow, I felt like I couldn't have let Flechette stay in the dark. I just wasn't sure if that was for my sake, or if it was for hers. The money I'd handed away would hurt too, but it felt necessary. I needed medical attention, and I felt like I had to check on my territory after I'd seen Perian. I climbed onto Atlas. His flight would be smoother and less jarring than walking. I heard another crash as Ballista continued tearing through Dawtown. I could have notified him that Perian was gone, but no. Maybe this wanton destruction would give him a chance to vent and find release over whatever it was that was haunting him. I'd have to get in touch with Trickster and Genesis to arrange our visit with the mayor for tonight. I'd have to deal with the threat on my life, whatever form it took. I didn't feel afraid. Anxious? Yes, but not terrified, not quivering or panicking. I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. Brew had lamented my lack of survival instincts not so long ago. Had recent events worn them down even further? I shook my head. I'd have time for introspection later. For now, I had to plan. And that was the entire 15.6 chapter. Pretty good, right? I'm going to summarize the beginning half of 15.7, and then we can wrap it up for tonight.
All right.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. So, summary is Taylor has to figure out a way to get medical attention without notifying Coil, because Coil is about to kill her, right? Mm-hmm. So she calls Tattletale. She fills her in on like what happened. And then she kind of says, "Hey, can you lend me your medic?" And Tattletale agrees. This is a guy, I don't remember if I actually went through the chapter with him, but he was one of the... Oh, no. We have read a chapter with him in it. He was an asshole. He was the really short guy who was like getting all handsy with I think either Taylor or Tattletale.
Oh.
When they tried to infiltrate the merchants. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, no, I remember that. It was really gross.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
He should be there before you arrive. I know you two haven't gotten along in the past, but he won't trouble you. He won't trouble me. Was that her way of informing me that he was safe? Well, I still felt better than I would be if I were putting my life in Coil's hands. Anyway, Taylor does a little bit of self-reflection. She goes back to her hideout, and Sierra and her little one-handed brother Bryce were there as I stepped into my
one-handed brother Bryce. Wait, is that your description or Tay-Tay's?
That was Tay-Tay's.
Ah, yes, Sierra and her little one-armed brother. How are you?
Right. Along with a small cluster of older kids and Tattletale's medic, Brooks. I sat down on the stool by the kitchen counter, and Brooks started examining my shoulder. "You guys get the most interesting injuries," he said, in his characteristic hard-to-place accent that seemed to put hard emphasis on syllables. I don't know how to do accents, so don't you worry about me.
I wasn't?
Okay. Interesting? Metal bonded to the bones. You have some sticking through and into the cavity your socket sits in. I have no idea how I'm going to get to the far end. Cannot pull it out, and if I try sawing it off, I'm not sure the shavings and flex wouldn't do catastrophic damage over the long run. I would say you need surgery. Damn it, I said. She probably intended for something like that, and every hospital in the area is going to be looking for someone with a spike in their shoulder. I could try to handle it, but it's going to take time to get necessary tools. What tools? At the very minimum, a small rotary grinder, suction, some fine wire, blood. We have those things. He looked surprised. I looked to Sierra. We did get that delivery of stuff for Dr. Tegeller.
Who?
The dentist? Yeah, but
Tegeller? Wait, what? I'm sorry. What stuff? Small rotary grinder, suction, fine wire, and blood.
Yep.
And that's for a dentist.
Yep. The dentist?
I'm sorry. My face right now is that Pikachu face, but in general practitioner. What is the grinder for? A rotary grinder.
Because she has a metal
No,
spike.
no, not for her. I like. What's a rotary grinder?
The dentist? Yeah, but it's not.
Let me try to figure out what this shit is for. Okay, the suction. Okay. Obviously, we need. It's yes. For surgeries. Like
suction. Yes. Blood. Yes.
Blood. I'm surprised they're giving. No, dentists don't normally order blood. We order saline.
Okay, if you were a dentist. Post-Brockton Pay apocalypse.
Bye.
Okay. But if you were sticking around, I don't think you'd just be doing dentistry, right?
Look, it's not my wheelhouse.
Okay, so fair enough.
I'm not going... Look, I learned the hard way. No. Blood? No. What? Okay, see, I'm thinking of, like, the rotary grinder. I'm like, what would I use that for? I guess for prosthetics. So, like, making dentures, I guess. The wire? Ortho, okay. I guess.
Let me cut you off right there. The rotary grinder isn't for the dentist. Taylor's about to explain it right now. Okay, but do you want to keep theorizing?
Oh, keep going.
I turned to Brooks. We have rotary grinders that we've been using for the cleanup. Not sure how clean they'd be, but the rest of that stuff we've been having.
So it's like garbage disposal kind of thing.
I think it's for construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they've been constructing new things.
Ooh.
We've been having it delivered so the people with medical training can start helping out. Since we already have an able-bodied dentist, we've been setting her up. It's kind of surprising how many people will start having issues with their teeth over just a month.
Listen, there's no floss and there's no toothbrushes. During the pandemic, all y'all motherfuckers had access to floss and toothbrushes. And you know what? I will never forgive the general public for this. Cleanings are very easy right now because people are suddenly taking care of themselves again because, oh, you know, your mouth, you got to take off your mask so you can show your mouth to people.
Uh-huh. Oh.
People had the filthiest mouths over the last 2 years and the most anxiety, and I felt like I had to be a shrink and a dentist. I was so pissed. I was like exhausted all the time. I did more emotional labor than I did actual dentistry, and it was exhausting. I hate it's what really made me make the decision. Like, I'm aiming for early retirement. I am gonna be done with this shit at some point because I realized like I hate people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will help my patients, but like as a concept, I hate people. Anyway, no, people had the nastiest mouths. So they're like, oh, it's amazing all these things that would happen to people's teeth in 1 month. No, sweetie, these are the things that people waited on for years and years and years, ignoring their actual dentists. And then suddenly, when you're stressed, y'all start grinding your teeth and then you start breaking things. That's what happened.
Remember to brush and floss, folks.
Or I will stab you.
Yes. Like Flechette.
Yes, I will Flechette you. And it will not be cute.
Okay. Let me pack this wound, and then I will need to go there. I'll grab what I need myself. I waited while Brooks unpackaged and pressed bandages in place around the spike. I think this is Brooks talking. How is the pain on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 high? Maybe a 3 until I move it. Then it's more like a 7. I am surprised you are not passed out already. Do you have a high pain tolerance?
She's a girl. Of course she does.
I wouldn't have thought so, but maybe.
She's a girl. Of course she does.
Word of God, like outside metatextual stuff, Taylor can actually handle more pain than others because she got hit by one of Bakuda's pain bombs. So her nerves, like her pain nerves, are actually fried.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big 5 then.
Yeah.
Or like, does it hurt? Yeah, only when I move it. Man, sometimes sometimes I'll like ask the patient like, oh, does it hurt? And they're like, yeah, only if I move it. And then they proceed to, and I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah. Oh, the tower wants to remind us that that Bryce's, like the little brother's hand, got erased by Scrub's power.
Erased?
Yeah. You remember Scrub, the person who can just delete things from existence? Yeah, his power got Bryce.
So he just doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry about that, buddy. It sounds like you could use a hand.
Hey. Tower says cockroach brain.
I'm a dick.
Or maybe the way it bonded kept it from damaging or exposing nerve endings.
Cockroach brain?
Oh, just the whole like pain nerve ending stuff.
Right.
Maybe. Okay. Ginger girl, show me the stuff. Ginger girl? Sierra asked archly. Brooks smirked. Brooks, I said.
Bad dog.
Treat my employees with respect, or I'm gonna have words with Tattletale about you. Yes, I am sorry, he said, not sounding sorry at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he doesn't sound sorry.
Please, show me where I can find the dentist's equipment.
Do you know what happens when patients try to do their own dentistry?
Bad things.
Very, very, very expensive bad things.
Uh-huh. Sierra looked at me, and I gave her a nod as my go-ahead. That left me with the kids and Bryce. I studied him. His black hair was cut so short he was nearly bald, and like Brooks, he was wearing dark gray cargo pants and a beige sleeveless t-shirt. He'd put on some muscle since I'd seen him last. His still bandaged stump of a wrist tapped impatiently against his leg. And the kids? They were wearing some of the clothes I'd had shipped in, but they didn't look like the typical bunch of kids one would see around a schoolyard. Before taking advantage of what I had to offer, they'd been eating the bare minimum, spending all of their time outdoors. But diet and exercise weren't entirely to blame for the lack of softness in their faces or expressions. They'd seen people they loved die. I wasn't sure what to say. Making small talk seemed like it would lower me to their level.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Taylor does this thing where instead of talking, she just uses her power to distract herself. So I'm summarizing this section, right?
I know, but the stuff you narrated, it's just really funny.
Yeah. So she's checking her territory, and there's sandbags everywhere to hold back the flooding and to like drain things. Other people were clearing the storm drains of blockages, and burned buildings are being torn down, massive tarps going up over roofs and being tied down so that the buildings are livable again. It wasn't pretty, and it wasn't fantastic, but it was something. My bugs noted 170 people at work, 174 if I included the kids here. 184, I realized. I nearly missed the crew that was working beneath the streets. The numbers were growing. It was a little intimidating. I didn't have any particular training or talents that really equipped me for a leadership position. Now, I was in charge of this many people.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. All right. So now she actually talks to one of the older kids, and sends him out on an errand. To like hand out tape and warning signs and so on, right? And this is when Bryce, Sierra's little brother, starts getting mouthy.
Go on.
Big bad supervillain giving orders to little kids, Bryce commented.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a supervillain. Child labor is just part of the thing. What did you expect?
Right?
That's what I would say. It's like, yeah, I'm a supervillain. Child labor. Now hop to it before I cut off your hand. Before I cut off your other arm.
Lol. Why did people insist on testing me? Was it something about being in charge that demanded that they try to establish their dominance?
They're kids. It's because they're kids.
Did people like Bryce have a natural propensity for bucking authority, with me as the only clear target?
Oh my god, girl! You don't know! Who's gonna tell her?
Or was it more that they were angry in general?
Yeah.
Either way, what did that mean for this city in the long run? If anyone who tried to change things for the better
you guys are screwed.
Was facing this sort of resistance. I'm giving orders to everyone. Everyone contributes. everyone benefits.
Taylor, you need to like start threatening people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. Look, you're a villain. You're a villain, right? Like, start threatening people. You know, like, do you think Flechette or like God forbid Parian could make a child shit themselves? No, send a swarm and be like, you listen to me or else.
To be more specific, you're having my sister give orders to everyone while you go out and get yourself injured in fights with other capes.
Woo!
Don't you dare, Sierra said, stalking back into the room. She put down a plastic tote of medical supplies. She sounded angry. And scared? Do not pick a fight with my boss. I'm just saying, don't. Don't just say anything. If nothing else, she saved your life.
That's true.
I wouldn't have needed saving if she hadn't been there, Bryce said.
Are you sure about that?
He gave me a look that was just short of a glare. Don't be an idiot, Sierra said. You were with the merchants. And things were cool. Partied all day, relaxed, had a girlfriend.
Oh my god, this child is actually a buffoon.
If she left things alone, I'd be okay.
He's an idiot. You know, Taylor, this was a mistake. You shouldn't have saved him. You should have just let him die.
Right?
Wow, you actually should have just let him die.
I'm surprised Tattletale didn't mention it, I said. The Slaughterhouse 9 eradicated the merchants. Barely 1 in 20 survived. The ones that are left are scattered across the city.
And the ones that quite literally in pieces in a fine red mist.
Right?
Isn't that what happened to that guy? He got choppered up in a plane.
Yeah, that guy.
No capes.
No capes.
He got Edna moded, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
If you'd stayed with them, you'd be dead. She did mention it, but I would have made it.
Oh my god. This is why we're not having any.
Cocky. Then you'd be starving to death. Dirty. Probably sick. Going through withdrawal, maybe.
Good point.
Don't know what you were taking with them. He scowled, glancing at his sister. None of your business. Hey! Sierra raised her voice. She grabbed him by the collar of his shirt, and he slapped her hand away. She stabbed a finger into his chest. Treat her with respect, damn it! Again, that note of fear. I treat people with respect if they deserve it. She does. She saved us here. That's big. Wouldn't need saving if it wasn't for the people with powers being around here in the first place. He wasn't wrong. As validating as it was for Sierra to stick up for me, I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt at the idea that these circumstances were because of capes. Hell, if I hadn't provoked the 9 by humiliating Mannequin, then this district wouldn't have come under fire by Burnscar. There was Dolltown, too.
Taylor, stop. I'm gonna slap you. Stop.
And my complicity there. I was personally at fault when it came to some of the damage.
What did Jono from Cinema Therapy say? There's a problem. How is it my fault? Are you Taylor fucking Heber or are you Bella Swan?
Right.
I want to slap you like pow pow. Get your shit together. Come on, girl. Get your shit together. Just get it together.
You want a better reason? She asked. She stepped close and pulled him down to hiss words in his ear. She wasn't being as quiet as she seemed to think she was, trying to hide her words from me and the kids. They attacked me and Char, mauled them. Mannequin. I shifted positions, and Sierra must have seen it because she lowered her voice to an inaudible hush as she finished, rattling off a list of the things she'd seen me do. Reasons that gave her cause to be spooked if her brother was mouthing off to me.
I like how I was like, you should threaten them. You should like threaten to chop off another arm, and Sierra like just understands that this is something that could happen.
When we'd met, Sierra had commented that I wasn't what she'd expected from a supervillain. Somewhere along the line, I painted a different picture.
That's not what these reactions are saying.
She clearly had no trouble with me on a day-to-day basis, but she also knew that when I was pushed, well...
That you would... Yeah. What happened to Long? That was her first encounter with the villain. Didn't she like roast his balls off with fire ants or something?
I think it was the... Hold on.
I'm pretty sure she...
first time...
I'm pretty sure she undicked him.
The first time was, yeah, fire ants on his crotch. Yeah,
she undicked him.
And then I think the second time was carving out his eyes.
Oh, that's right. She carved out his... I'm sorry, I got it mixed up.
Yeah.
I thought she carved out his his dick and then put fire ants in his eyes.
Mhm.
Which one's worse? Weigh in, all you AMABs out there. Which is worse?
Well, I'd gone easy on the 3 ABB members that had attacked her and Charlotte. But that was only in a matter of speaking. I'd still left them fleeing.
Sorry.
I'd still left them fleeing in mortal terror.
Yeah, that's something to be proud of. Don't you realize? This is something to be proud of, Tay-Tay.
Bryce looked at me, and I could see him give me a once-over glance, as if assessing me in a new light. Go help.
I know she's skinny, but she will kick your ass.
Go help Brooks, I told him. I'll direct you to him with my swarm. It took him a second to weigh whether he wanted to help, whether he wanted to or not, but he did turn and step out the front door, following the thin trail of bugs that I was gathering between him and the warehouse we were keeping supplies. Want me to go there too? Sierra asked. Your choice. Might be better to give him space. I keep having to do that. When did we start being a family again?
Did she ask when did we start being a family again?
When do we start being a family again?
Right now, you're mom now. Congrats.
Yeah, it sucks. I'm not the person to answer that question. Sorry.
I know, I just said this is why we're not having kids.
Mm-hmm. If you decide to leave him be, I could use a hand collecting some things so I can make effective use of my time. Okay, she said. She seemed to pull herself together a bit. What do you need? My laptop from my room and the surveillance stuff from the cellar. There's another set of surveillance gear in the bag beneath the shelves. Sierra hurried off to gather the equipment. The ensuing minutes were a little disorganized as Bryce and Brooks both arrived with the last of the medical equipment. Blood type? AB. He took one...
Wait, is Taylor an AB?
Yep.
You guys can't see that big smile on my face, but anime characters with AB blood types are known to be very unsociable and unpleasant.
Oh, look, it sounds like Taylor.
That's the stereotype. You're a B, right?
I am type B, yes.
Oh, and you have ADD. It tracks!
It tracks.
Yeah! And I'm a type O. I'm rambunctious and full of energy.
Yes.
Everyone thinks I'm a type A, but no, that's just school me. My actual personality is this! Woo woo, I'm not.
He took one bag of blood out of the box and placed it on the counter. Want to do this in your room? I have an armchair on the second floor I could sit in. Need you reclining. I have somewhere to be tonight, I told him. Though this would be something of an excuse to avoid the kill. Don't put me under. Yeah. Remember, Coil's... Taylor thinks that Coil is going to kill her tonight.
Oh, right.
Yeah. This is going to hurt.
Hey, Coil, sorry I can't be murdered today. I got stabbed, so can we, like, postpone? Can you, like, pick a different day to murder?
Lol. I had another reason for not wanting to be put under. I wanted to keep an eye on him. My conversation with Tattletale had suggested he wasn't a threat, but I'd feel a heck of a lot better if I could verify that for myself. Do you have local anesthetic? I asked. Yes. He tapped one finger on a tiny bottle. Lidocaine. I recognized the name. But...
Oh, she does?
I guess she does.
Taylor, you must have gone through some medical shit. Because, like, most patients, they always ask me, like, oh, it's like Novocaine. And I'm like, no one uses Novocaine anymore. Like, toxicity levels for lidocaine.
You know what I bet?
Hmm?
I bet she knows about it because of... Actually, I don't know. She probably knows about it because she's been handling the medical supplies. Like, and organizing it
that's
here. Yeah.
That's true.
But I was gonna suggest that she knows about it because her mom got in a car accident, but she probably wouldn't know about it from that. Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, that doesn't really track.
Doesn't track, yeah.
No.
Yes, but will not prevent all pain. I do not want to use too much. We'll try that then.
That sounds like me. Like, this is the same spiel I give to my patients all day, all night.
Mm-hmm. We headed up to the second level, and I settled into my chair. For additional lighting, I had my switch beetle flick the concealed switch that was contained in the terrarium.
What's a switch beetle?
This was mentioned when she first set up her lair, but she has light switches that bugs can hit, so that she can, like, turn on and off things at will.
Oh my god! You remember those tap lights that they sold on the infomercial? It's just you just tap the light and it turns on.
Yeah.
From the makers of Taplight, Switch Beetle. Because why not?
Brooks hooked up the blood bag, but left the tube hanging, unconnected. Other supplies were arranged on the table.
That sounds like a terrible name. Blood bag. It sounds like a troll name? The thing you mentioned?
Goblin?
Goblin name, yeah, blood bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other supplies were arranged on the table he'd had Bryce bring up. He seemed very particular about the order and what was being kept. For a field medic, he seemed pretty well versed in this stuff. Worked in many hospitals, he replied. Many places. Often with less than this. Sometimes with more. Okay. We will have to dislocate your shoulder to access the inside of shoulder socket.
Wait,
okay.
Is that how, I don't know how this works. Is that actually how it works?
I'm not sure what he's doing.
Are there any
exactly.
other medical professionals in chat? Can you verify this? Is this normal?
You will take muscle relaxant to minimize damage from dislocation. You will need to exercise arm to prevent more dislocations. I didn't like the sound of that. The possibility that it was actually poison, but the muscle relaxant came from the bottle, and they had the brand logo etched into them. One potential danger averted. No way he'd arranged it this quickly. I can do that. I took the pills with a swig from the offered bottle of water. Let's see. So I'm going to summarize a little bit. Sierra comes in with the surveillance equipment Taylor requested. Mm-hmm. Bryce is just like, oh, this would be easier if you just lay down. And Brooks says, it is fine. Only one that suffers is her.
Lol.
Ever a charmer, Brooks, I commented, but my attention was on the laptop. I used the switch beetle to open all of the terrariums and withdrew collections of spiders, dragonflies, large moths, and roaches. They should not touch chair, Brooks said, or anything on table. Must keep everything as sterile as we can.
Oh, so the bugs aren't sterile.
I know, I said.
Remember that? Do you remember that? The
yes.
lady.
They are not sterile. Anyway, so using the bugs, Taylor basically has them carry the surveillance equipment, and she sends out swarms of surveillance equipment hooked up to her laptop so that she can see what's going on in her territory. Yeah.
Innovative.
Then, using my bugs, I drew forms around each, vaguely humanoid. It wasn't as intuitive as I was forced to use my own eyes to assess the accuracy. Still, I managed to rearrange each until they vaguely resembled me. I marched them down the stairs. Outside end first, Brooks said, starting up the rotary saw. Not my favorite sound, and the sensation of it sawing at the metal, it brought back even more unpleasant memories. Being on my back, bone saw trying to cut a hole through my skull.
Sounds like you have PTSD.
I shivered. Don't move, Brooks said. I focused on my swarm clones, staying totally still while he worked on removing...
See, I tell my patients to just find some music to listen to, and meanwhile Taylor's, like, focusing on, like...
managing a territory.
Yeah. Not what I would call relaxing.
Staying totally still while he worked on removing the metal end of the dart. They were largely composed of flying bugs, but I was bulking each of the forms out as more bugs arrived, giving them a more solid mass. I used my free hand to pop my earbuds in. I felt bad about leaving my territory as often as I had been. People were spooked, scared, and insecure. Having a leadership figure that was never around wasn't helping matters. This would, I hoped, establish a kind of presence that had been lacking.
Don't worry about the massive swarms of bugs. It is I, Taylor.
It is I, Taylor.
Your buggy overlord.
Sierra had been coordinating everyone, trying to put people with experience in charge of people who were lacking it. It was interesting, trying to hold multiple conversations at once with the various project leaders. Difficult, too. For one thing, my speech with my swarms was somewhat lacking, missing consonants, but I could still make myself more or less understood. For another, my ears could only process one thing at a time. I managed by talking with one or more swarm clone while listening with one at a time. After too many misfires and moments of confusion, I scaled down my efforts to a single conversation at once, simply standing silently by with my other selves. So, question, should I gloss over this or should I keep going? Okay, yeah, so she's basically practicing her power, getting better with speaking with her swarm and listening through her swarm as well.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And then Charlotte comes back into the territory with a truck, and 5 people climb out and made a beeline to her swarm clone.
Get it? A beeline?
Yeah. 190 people working for me. Word was apparently getting out about this being a safe haven. Do you want me to gloss over the surgery that's happening here? Or do you want the details?
I would love some gory surgery details. Come on, what do you take me for?
My conversation with Charlotte was delayed as Brooks enlisted Bryce in twisting and pulling in my arm, while Brooks held my neck and torso.
Crunch, crunch, crunch.
Bryce drove his elbow against my shoulder while it was being twisted to its absolute limits, effectively knocking my arm out of its socket. I managed to avoid making any noise beyond a guttural grunt, and took a few seconds to try to avoid blacking out from the pain. As heavily as I was breathing, back in my lair, my swarm people didn't show any sign. I focused the whole of my attention on them, as if I could remove my consciousness from my real body.
Can she do that yet?
No, not yet. Any problems? I asked Charlotte, once I'd recovered enough to pay attention. Glancing at my shoulder, I could see Brooks making an incision in the skin of my shoulder. He'd managed to open the tear in my costume.
Blech.
I hadn't been paying attention to Hal. I deliberately looked away as Brooks tried to forge a path to the inside of my shoulder socket.
Blech.
Not sure, Charlotte said. Have a look. It was Parian. I'd been so focused on my shoulder, the 3-dimensional web blueprint in my swarm selves, that I hadn't noticed her getting out of the truck.
Wait, what's Perrin? Perrin came to the territory?
Yep.
What?
You didn't leave, I said, when she joined Charlotte and my swarm clone. I didn't think the money would be real, she responded. Of course it was. It was a lot of money. Very generous.
Don't say anymore, please.
But we were talking about it and split between us. It's not enough to give everyone all the care they need. I told them to go ahead, that I didn't need a share. Sorry, I was worried it wouldn't be enough, I said. Are you saying you want more money? I might have to say no. There's a limit to what I can spare. No! No. She hugged her arms to her body, looking around at the people who were working. I thought maybe I should hear you out. Okay, I responded. Except it's not really you? My clone shook her head. Can I talk with the real you? I'm in my lair.
A little busy right now.
I'm in my lair, and I'm preoccupied. You'll understand if I don't reveal the location, given who your friends are? Yeah, she said. She was still looking around, watching as a group moved by, pushing wheelbarrows of burned wood. I was telling myself that there was no point to taking your offer, that I could use my power and make more money legitimately. But that's not true at all, is it? Walk with me, I said. She nodded.
This is so funny. Walk with me, and she's like this buzzing swarm. Like, I know. Listen, I do know that it's not making fly noises, but I just hear like fly noises.
Mm-hmm. I led the way through my territory with my clone as I talked. Crime does pay.
Yeah.
I made the offer to you because I thought it would be the best way to get your Dolltown residents the money they needed to get their own lives back.
I love it. Crime does pay.
Or get as close to their own lives as possible. I kind of hate you, she said.
What?
Why? You're making it out like I'm a bad person because I won't betray Flechette and my own moral code to help them. I don't blame you for your decision. I don't think any less of you. But you wouldn't make the choice I'm making. No, I didn't. And you've done more to help my people than I have.
I mean, bad guys can get things done, less restrictions,
Yeah. You've protected them to the best of your ability through this city's darkest hours. You really think we're past that?
No.
The bad days?
Not at all.
Yes. I winced as the grinding resumed, this time inside my shoulder socket. A makeshift rigging inside the cavity caught the metal shavings, while Bryce held the tube to suction the metal shavings out. So far, no assassination attempts. Good. I don't know what to do, Perian admitted. Seeing it makes me wish I'd done something like it. I'm not going to push you towards one choice or another. I know. You made that clear when you gave me the money, with no strings attached. Look, I said. I know Flechette was saying my perspective is warped. But I think the system, society, it's like a series of rules and expectations that we established under some general expectations. But recent events have made it pretty clear that those expectations, those assumptions, they might not apply.
Fair point.
Because of us? Capes? Yeah. At the end of the day, barring some extreme examples like powerful dictators, there's always the fact that any bad person who doesn't have powers can be killed with a gun, a knife, or even a good punch in the right place. That's not the case with us parahumans. The balance of power is pretty damned off-kilter. Things aren't fair.
What do you mean things aren't there? Like
Fair.
Fair. Oh, okay.
Yeah, things aren't
I thought
fair.
I heard things aren't there, and I was like, you mean like organs?
No, I mean fair. Are you making that imbalance better or worse?
It's a question I ask myself every day, Fleshy.
I'm addressing the problem. I'm saying there's no point to trying to hold on to the old status quo when it's based on a foundation that no longer exists. So you're going to take over the city? Yes, because at least for right now, I can give these people what they need. I moved my clone's head and followed a group of kids who were running away from my lair, carrying 6 packs of water bottles. And later? I don't know. We walked in silence past the bonfire where scrap wood was being burned. Brooks and Bryce, meanwhile, set to shoving my arm back into its socket. All of the ambient pain disappeared in an instant. Perian needed the money. She needed the assurance that she could help the people she'd failed. I understood that. I can offer you one last compromise, I said. What? I can't guarantee it'll work. I can't say if anyone else will accept the proposal, and I don't know what's going to happen long term. But we don't have to call you a member of our team. We don't have to call you a villain. But I'd take territory for myself, anyways. Yes. Others would call me a villain, just because I wasn't fighting you guys. They'd know I was cooperating with you. Not necessarily. Maybe the people in charge, the Protectorate and wards, maybe they'd understand it, but the people on the ground level wouldn't. The media would out me. I think we control the media, or enough to throw some doubt into the mix. The rules are pretty simple. You take territory, you hold it, and you ensure that there's no crime or parahumans operating there without your consent. And Flechette? I don't know her. I can't say how she'll react.
I heard that in a Mariah Carey voice. I don't know her.
I don't know her. I can't say how she'll react, but maybe if you explain nicely, maybe if you frame it right, you could convince her it's for the greater good. So long as she convinced the other heroes to leave your territory alone, let you enforce the law there all by yourself, you wouldn't have to fight them. And if she didn't? That's up to her. Or you. She stared around my territory. It wasn't pretty. There was still devastation everywhere, but things were getting better. It was maybe the only place in the city where things were improving as fast as they were. We weren't taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It was all forward momentum. Not even a week had passed, admittedly, but it was progress. And it was apparent. I don't think I could accept if Flechette doesn't agree. Okay.
Let me talk to my wife.
The alternative was unspoken. If she does. I hate you, Perian said. And it was answer enough. Brooks finished.
So many haters. All these haters. Taylor, put on your shades and drink some of that haterade.
Haterade. Brooks was finishing stitching up the incision in my shoulder. I already had 2 pieces of scrap spider silk at the ready. One to cover the hole in my costume, and another to serve as a sling until my shoulder was stronger. If I adjusted my cape, I could cover the arm so the injury wasn't too obvious. I stood from the chair and stretched, then reached for my cell phone. I can live with that, I told her, speaking through my swarm clone. I clicked through my contact list and called the man who was plotting to kill me. End chapter.
I went through my contact list and called the man who was about to kill me. The drama.
The drama, the melodrama.
The melodrama.
Yeah, like all of this Perry and Flechette Taylor stuff is very interesting, which is why I wanted to zoom in on it.
Well,
I think so.
What do you mean?
Like this, like I said, this is an example of Taylor being very charismatic and convincing when she wants to be, right?
Just how did that whole how do I put it? That whole walk with me thing. It's very Shark Tank.
Right? Like she basically just converted someone to the dark side.
Come to the dark side. We have money.
Yeah.
Or rather, come to the dark side. We have medical supplies and you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Convincing argument.
We have money, supplies, like everything that you need. We also have peace and stability.
Everything you need and peace and we're doing a better job than you guys because we're willing to break some rules.
Right? Yeah. Whew. All right. 2 chapters. What did you think?
I think I made it very far in this mobile game. I'm joking. I don't know. What do you want me to say?
Well, did you find this interesting, or would you rather skip stuff like this?
It was mildly interesting.
Mildly?
I mean, if you have things you wish to ask the panda, you may approach.
Yes, of course.
No, seriously. What sort of...
Would you agree with my assessment? Gay level? 5 out of 10?
Yeah, lukewarm.
Lukewarm? Yeah, there wasn't actually that much interaction between them, but it's simmering, for sure, underneath the surface. Oh, let me ask Flechette.
Okay, I need to talk to my wife. Yeah, that was very hold on, I need to call my wife. Yeah? You sure about that, sweetie? Okay.
All right.
You have dinner ready at 6. Bye.
So, let's look ahead at the next chapters and see what we'll be talking about. I think we might be skimming over the next chapter because it is a donation interlude told from Alexandria's perspective.
Who's Alexandria?
You don't remember Alexandria? She's the really smart flying superhero one of the triumvirate.
The effect thing.
The what?
The trio, Alexandria trio?
Yeah, she's one of the trio. The triumvirate.
I remember her power set is named after her, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Alexandria package. So like super strength, super speed, and flight.
And a modeling contract to boot.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. So that chapter is her it's her backstory, her how she got involved with Cauldron, and then like lots of extra stuff about how I guess she's culpable in the things that Cauldron does.
Culpable.
Yeah.
Big fancy word.
Yeah. And then there's 3 more Taylor chapters. One where she attacks the mayor.
What?
Right? Yeah, she's supposed to threaten the mayor to not condemning the city. One where she almost kills someone from anaphylactic shock.
Wait, what did she do?
She did the same thing she always does. Had her bugs bite people.
I keep forgetting that that's a possible thing for her powers, and then suddenly it's just like, oh.
Yeah.
It's very like, oh.
And then one where they expect Coil to kill Skitter and he doesn't. So yeah, I think that could all probably be summarized in one session, I think.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
All right. Next time. But for now, we are signing off. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.